A common piece of psychological wisdom is that if you want to appear more attractive, you should wear the color red. Well, at least if you're a Westerner. Red is fiery and passionate, and maybe when our ancestors roamed the savannah thousands of years ago, they really, really liked red berry bushes, so much so that they would fuck them. I might be getting my evolutionary psychology hypotheses confused, but whatever. Or maybe it's because we in this culture have a certain idea about the color red, and so we make certain inferences about a person who might be wearing red, like whether or not they might be up for a roll in the berry bushes with us. This is especially important information right now as droves and droves of horny young people are currently dressing up like Santa Claus for events like Santacon, where tons of frat boys descend upon a city to terrorize it with loudness and vomit. And they're awful and they're gross, so literally the only way they might possibly get laid is, well, number one, if their partner is also drunk and gross, or number two, if they gain some sort of evolutionary advantage by wearing the color red. And there have been several studies in the past that have shown that red might make a person more attractive. They usually study how red might make a woman more attractive to a man, which is odd because those same researchers in evolutionary psychology are the ones telling us that it's women who love the color red and pink because of all those berry bushes that our ancestors fucked. I mean, picked. Not fucked. Picked. In recent years, though, more and more people have been pointing out a problem in psychology research, a serious lack of replication. Last year, for instance, some researchers found that fewer than half of 98 published psychology studies could be replicated. Then some psychologists did a re-review of that and said that really it wasn't that bad, which caused some other scientists to say, actually, that is kind of bad. But basically, the only thing that everyone agreed on is that replication is really important, and it weeds out studies that aren't as rigorous as they might first appear. And it helps us really understand if there's actually a psychological effect happening, and if so, how strong that effect really is. Which brings us back to the replicate the simplest and most convincing red is sexy experiment, the OG experiment. Showing men photos of a woman. Some men see the woman in red clothes, others see her wearing black or white clothes, and then ask them how likely they would be to want to be in a long-term relationship with that woman, or how likely they would be to want to just have a fun roll in the berry bushes with her, and then see if there's a difference depending on what the woman's wearing. These researchers did this 3 times, employing more than 800 men in total, including 433 men in just one attempt, which was more than 17 times the number of participants in the original study. And they found absolutely nothing. No difference, no effect, none at all. Absolutely no difference between a woman wearing red and the same woman wearing black or white. So the effect seemed to show up when we had tiny sample sizes, but those tiny sample sizes are more prone to statistical anomalies. And sure enough, once we scaled it up, the effect completely disappeared. Does this mean that you're not as sexy as you thought in your puke-covered Santa suit? No, of course not. This failed replication should just make us all more skeptical of the previous research, but it doesn't mean that the previous research is completely without merit. Maybe when you're face to face with a person, the color of their clothes does make a difference. Or maybe when you scale this up even more, if you try it with 8,000 people, the effect will reappear. What this does tell us unequivocally is how important it is to replicate research. Replication doesn't usually get the big headlines, and it often doesn't even get published at all because it's not new or exciting, or it doesn't even show a positive effect. But it's extremely important because it helps us really hone in on what is true and what is not. And in this case, what is true is that you should never, ever fuck a berry bush.